All right, everyone. The scrap will be starting soon. And while everybody's logging in, while we're getting ready with the guest, I wanted to talk about this, the V50. Lots of people have heard about it, the V50. I am very, very proud of this. It started out a few years ago as a journaling project that I did for myself, and then I shared it with the vigilantes. And over 70 vigilantes did the first trial run as we did it together. And then they helped edit and revise it and form it into what it is now, the V50 that you currently know, all about conquering yourself. And it really is, the V50 is about this right here. It is body, mind, soul, and goals. Body, mind, soul, and goals. You set goals for yourself each and every day. The system is built in where you can set up each day that you want to set up. And then you prove to yourself that you are who you say you are. It's the V50 commitment. I'm super proud of it. You do it for a 50-day commitment, a 50-day commitment of the V50, body, mind, soul, and goals. And you prove to yourself that you have the ability to set goals and then crush those goals, proving to yourself you are who you say you are. It's a great way to build confidence. It's a great way to be a more effective person. So I'm super proud of it. The body, mind, soul, and goals, it's all explained in the front of the book. And there's instructions all about conquering yourself. You can see this is a scoring page from deep in it as I traveled through the V50 at the end of last year. I'm now in my third iteration of doing the V50, and it will make you, it will form habits for you. It will make you a more effective person if you are willing to take on the commitment and complete the commitment. So I'm excited about it. I wanted to share it. The V50, Conquer Yourself. You can find it on firehousevigilance.com. Of course, the Vigilantes can find it in the Vigilante Swag Shop. V50, Conquer Yourself. Go get yourself one. Make the commitment. Make the commitment with your crew, your shift, your battalion. It is powerful. It will make you a more effective person, and I wanted to share it. So there you go, V50. Now, let's get ready for the scrap, starting soon. Corley Moore, Firehouse Vigilance. It is weekly scrap number 230. My guest tonight is Craig Haigh, a retired fire chief who has led volunteer, combination, and career. He's been a chief for more than 30 years. He is the author of the book, The Dynamic Fire Chief, Principles for Organizational Management. He's named 2012 Illinois Career Fire Chief of the Year, the recipient of the 2019 International Association of Fire Chiefs Chief Alan Brunacini Executive Safety Award. He's written, published tons of articles on the topic of leadership. He is the principal of Haigh Solutions Consulting, and that consulting work frequently extends into the private business sector as well. Regular speaker, presenter, sharing his experience and insights with both emergency service and private sector leaders. He facilitates 2 think tanks, 1 fire service, 1 private business, and serves as a private business executive coach, assisting and working to develop team leadership skills in up and coming leaders. This man has done a lot on fire organizational leadership roles. It is my absolute pleasure to have you on as the guest of Weekly Scrap number 230. Welcome, Chief Craig Haigh.
Well, thank you, sir. It is it's an honor to be with you tonight. So looking forward to the conversation.
I am checking in right now. We're having a super choppy video right now, and I'm just checking in with everybody that's watching live, and everybody's saying the same thing. It is super wicked choppy video. So I apologize to everybody, but the audio is good. Please let me know the audio is good. If the audio is good, we'll continue and pray that the video catches up, and you guys can just kind of close your eyes and enjoy me and Chief, audio wise. So just let me know. Audio is good. Okay. Preston says audio is good. I'm waiting for a few more people to say audio is good. Matt Carpenter said, much respect for this man. Welcome to the Chop House. That's a great way to say it. Super choppy. Hey, everybody, this is the benefit, or not the benefit, this is the downside of a live show. But if you can hear us, that is what we care about. Just the video is super choppy. All right, Chief, if you're willing, we're going to go with just the audio and everybody can watch our slideshows of our faces as we go.
That's good with me.
Is there anything I missed in the intro? I mean, because let's be honest, you've done a lot in your life, and it's hard to melt it down to just a paragraph. So, is there anything I missed in the intro that you'd like to add?
No, I've been around a long time. Led fire departments for a long time, and what you covered was very nice. So I appreciate that.
Fair enough. I'll go with it. I'll talk about those beautiful sponsors, and then we'll get into the scrap proper, the OG sponsor of the scrap, Keyhose. Check them out online at keyhose.com. Follow them on Facebook. Of course, the affordable bailout prop. Affordable Drill Tower, firefighter owned and operated. They make the affordable bailout prop, which allows you to practice window bailouts using a personal escape system, ladder bailouts, or ladder high points. The affordable bailout prop can roll under any 12-foot overhead door so you can train on the apparatus floor or in the parking lot. Call Steve or Dennis, 844-55-TOWER, or drop an email to info@affordabledrilltowers.com. FirestationFurniture.com provides a complete line of quality furniture for your firehouse. Firefighter owned and operated. They understand the strain firefighters put on furniture and offer furniture that's built to last. Visit www.firestationfurniture.com for more information. And finally, FDIC International. It's taking over Indianapolis once again, the big show, April 15th through the 20th, and you have to be there to experience it. No other event brings together the fire service industry like FDIC, with over 34,000 fire service professionals, hands-on training covering the latest in technology and technique, an expansive conference program, and nearly 800 leading manufacturers displaying their products and services. It's not a regular trade show. It's FDIC International. Register today at FDIC.com and use the promo code SCRAP with an exclamation point. I'll be very clear. But there it is. The sponsors are done. We can get to the scrap proper. Everybody's saying it's starting to clear up. It's starting to clear up and starting to look good. So, hey, maybe we're in luck.
Making progress.
Weathering the storm. Chief, I'm going to kick it off right out the gate. I love this topic, and you sent me so much good information. You sent me 2 PowerPoints. You sent me articles. You sent me the topics you wanted to discuss. I loved it. Okay, absolutely loved it. And I'm starting off with one that I think is on everyone's mind: recruitment and retention. Straight up out the gate, I think that's probably one of the biggest ones on a lot of people's radar in the modern fire service. What is the fire service getting wrong right now, and what are we getting right? What do we need to do more of? It's basically a soft toss to kick things off, whichever direction you want to take it.
Well, man, if that's a soft toss, then I'm a little bit afraid of what one of your hard kicks is going to be.
The hard only comes from the audience. Mine.
Okay.
There you go.
The issue of recruitment and retention, I would say, is flat out, hands down, number one issue that I'm hearing in the fire service today. In fact, the information I was able to provide to you is based on I'm with the Illinois Association of Fire Protection Districts later in this week at their conference, talking about basically the exact same thing, as well as a little bit of succession planning. I don't know of any fire department, and through my consulting work, I talked to a lot of them across the country. I don't know of anybody that is not struggling with this issue of recruitment and, to a lesser degree, retention. But retention is becoming a bigger issue for us. As I talk to folks, we always talk about recruitment and retention. We say them it's almost like it's a linked together word, and the reality is they're two different things.
Right.
Recruitment is, let's grab those new folks. We got to get the door, folks that are interested in coming into what I would argue is the greatest job in the world. How do we find them? How do we develop them? How do we get them interested? How do we get them into the organization? And then the retention is that once we get them, how do we keep them? And the challenge that we face, I think, from the retention standpoint today, is that everybody is looking to hire. So if you get a new firefighter in the door and all of a sudden they figure out this isn't a good fit for me, I don't like the bosses that I'm working for, I don't like the organization, I can make an hour more next door, man, they're going to make the jump.
Right.
And so we need to be very, very diligent as it relates to this issue of not only how do we get new folks, but once we get those new folks, how do we keep them?
Keep them.
And I talk about we've got to be the employer of choice. And if we're not the employer of choice, we're not going to keep our folks at our organization, and we're just going to lose them, and they're going to go someplace else. So this is a huge issue. It is the issue that everybody seems to be concerned about and talking about, whether it is the folks that are working the rigs up through the city councils and fire district leadership. Everybody understands this is a problem. As I've looked at it, and as I get folks to say, hey, what can we do here? How do we fix it? Come tell us what the answer is. I can tell you, I've spent a lot of time looking at this issue and tried to work with some really smart folks from across the fire service world throughout the U.S. and Canada. And the answer comes back to there's no silver bullet here. There is no one solution is going to fix the challenge that we've got. I think there are, anytime we look at a difficult situation like this, we got to look at, well, what is really the underlying challenge that we're facing, and what can we glean from that to be able to try and figure out some solutions. You mentioned in my introduction that I do a lot of work with the fire service, but I do a lot of work with the private side.
Right.
And I can tell you that this is not just a fire service, emergency service, whether that's EMS, fire, law enforcement. This is just not our problem. When you look at what's going in the private sector, I do a lot of work with organizations that work on heavy equipment and diesel mechanics and things like that. They can't get folks either. Okay. And so it's not just our issue, but it is a global employment issue.
So is it a societal issue that we're also feeling the ramifications of?
I think so. And I think you summed it up pretty well. When you look at, if you just go back and you look at the numbers, and I always try to go back and say, okay, what's the numbers actually telling us? We know that there are 1.9 million fewer American workers than there were in February of 2020. So coming out of the pandemic, we've lost 1.9 million workers.
Just right out
of the gate. So when you look at that, you say, oh, okay, well, where'd they go? Well, we had a bunch of folks that took early retirement. They're out of the employment world. We got folks that are staying home and they're not, they're taking care of their families. They're not in the work environment. We got a lot of new businesses that have started up. So we just have less folks that are working today than what we had even a few years ago. And if you distill that down a bit and you say, okay, well, what else do we actually know? We know that our population growth level, going all the way back to 1900, fast forward to today, 120 plus years.
Okay.
We are at the lowest population growth in American history since the 1900s. So we just don't have the folks.
Just the labor force is smaller.
It's smaller.
Right. Okay.
So when you look at those numbers and then you say, okay, well, where are the people working at? Well, what the data tells us is that the professional services, I just talked about in the private side, the diesel mechanics, the carpenters, the plumbers, the electricians, those kind of folks that do that kind of work, as well as healthcare and emergency services. When you look at all of the folks that are working, the area that is the shortest is that professional and business spoke about. So not only do we have less folks for us to pull from, we have less folks that are interested in doing our work.
Right. Okay.
So you stick all of that stuff together. man, we're in trouble.
We're in an
We're in a bad way.
exponential crisis.
We really are. And you say, well, how big is it? How big a problem do we have? What the data is currently telling us is that 49%. We only got 1.1 million firefighters in the U.S. We're really a pretty small,
very small.
we're a pretty small group.
Very elite. I like to say elite.
Elite, yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I mean, there's about 38,000 fire departments in the country, so I mean, we're a pretty small group. But 49%, almost half of that group, is age 40 or older.
Ooh.
So if you think the average firefighter, and I think the national numbers now, they're retiring at about 52 to 53 years old, and you say half of our firefighters are 40 years or older, and we're not replacing that generation coming in the door, when you step back and you look at that from the 30,000 foot view, we got some real challenges.
So we haven't even
get our arms wrapped around this.
We haven't even hit the actual crisis yet. We're just we're in the opening bouts of the crisis.
I think that's a great way to describe it.
Oh,
and so
you painted that a very clear picture. I've never thought about that before.
I think if we don't get our hands around what we're seeing right now, we're stuck. We're going to be in a really bad way.
No. Wow. And like I said, there's a soft toss to lead off the discussion. Are you ready, Chief, for your first question from the audience?
Sure.
And it's right down the same vein we're talking about. Scott Hope Jr. wants to know, I'm not sure what OAY is. That one part is confusing me, Scott. So I'm sorry, but he says when the OA benefits, equipment are there for the recruitment and retention, yet you still have an astronomical turnover. He's saying when the benefits and equipment are there, but you still have an astronomical turnover. What is your suggestion for where to begin reevaluation of your strategy?
If I understand the question, I think it's probably
pay. He said pay. P-A-Y.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a typo. I was very confused. I'm sorry. Thank you. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think what that question, it probably hits the heart of what we've got going on that we need to take a look at. If we look at the new generation coming in the door, the Generation Z folks, the 18 to 24-year-olds that are new recruits that we're trying to hire, they're the candidate pool, and I talked to a lot of fire service leaders, and regardless of what rank, when I say fire service leader, leadership's leadership, doesn't matter what crap you got on your collar.
Love it.
But when I talk to a lot of fire service leaders, I hear a lot of complaints about the new coming in the door.
Mic check. Chief, we lost you. I'm going to keep talking. So that the audio is there for everybody that's paying attention or that is listening. Right now, I'm hoping Chief gets to get back in here with us. He may not realize he's lost contact with us. I love the numbers he just brought up. I'll talk to the audience. He's frozen. Let me know if you can still hear Corley. Please let me know if you can still hear me. I know he's gone for me. He's gone for me. He's gone for Sam. So I'm aware he's gone, but I just need to know if you guys can hear me or it's just him. He's officially gone. We can hear you. Corley, you are good. I like hearing that. Thank you, Jacob. Corley, you are good. You're good. Can hear you. I can hear you. We got you. Chief of Chiefs is gone, though. I don't know what. Brother, you do what you got to do. Is he going to keep the stream going? All right. Hey, throw questions at me. I'm just going to field. I'm just going to field questions. Throw questions at me while we wait on the Chief to get back in here, and we'll get it back and going when he gets back in. It's going to be wonky. The video is going to be wonky while Sam deals with it. Sam is the amazing guy. He handles curveballs like nobody's business. And throw questions, and we'll just go from here. We'll keep the scrap going. This is the beauty of live internet television or I don't know. What is it called? Live internet broadcast. We back?
I think. Yep.
Chief. I didn't OA him enough. That's it, Joe.
Yeah.
That's really good, actually. Welcome back, brother.
Welcome back. I think we were talking about what a great question that was. You want me to pick back up there, or
Yes,
what happened
no,
while I was
100%.
gone?
I was prattling, trying to just kill time, seeing if you were going to make it back or not. So 100%, wherever you want to pick back up. It was a great question from Scott Hoke, and you were right in the middle of killing it, and so you can start over at the beginning, basically.
As I said, I think the question that hits to the heart of really where we're at when we're looking at the generations that are coming in the door. The fact we can complain all we want, and I hear a lot of fire service leaders complain about the new guys. Well, God's not making any more old firefighters. So the reality is that the new guys are our firefighters. So how do we change to be able to adjust and lead the generation coming in the door?
I love that.
And so when we think about it and we say, okay, well, what do you guys want? Pay and benefits. They want a livable wage. They want good benefits. But the reality, when we talk to the younger generation coming in the door, they're looking for the ability to make a difference. They're looking for the ability to work in a workplace that's driven by values. They're looking an organization that cares about them, and they're just not a number on a flow chart. They're looking for flexibility in operate and how we do business. We got folks that if you don't swirl the toilet at 9 o'clock in the morning, because we've swirled the toilet at 9 o'clock in the morning for the last 100 years, the world may stop spinning on its axis.
Right. The sun may freeze.
Reality is like, you got folks that come in and say, "Hey, Cap, can we get our training done this morning at 9 o'clock because it's going to be 100 degrees at 4 o'clock, and we could swirl the toilet then." Well, we need some leaders that can roll with the punches and make modifications and adjust. So we've got a generation that stuff is important too, and I think we as leaders need to be thinking about that and
Right.
How do we become that employer of choice in essence, instead of some of the crazy stuff that we've done for a very, very long time.
And let me ask you, Chief, do you think that there is, like, I love the wording you use, the employer of choice. And do you think that's the metric that an organization needs to use and compare themselves to the surrounding departments? You know what I'm saying? And use that as like a mirror?
I do. I really do.
Oh,
I think we need to look at ourselves. We need to look at our candidates. We need to talk to our candidates. We need to find out what their needs are and what makes. And then we need to adjust our organization accordingly.
No,
I think the other thing that is of a challenge to us is that our candidates coming in the door are smarter than they've ever been, and they at a moment can Google the fire service. So this mystery of cancer risk in the fire service. In the old days, we didn't talk about the health concerns in the fire department.
Sure.
It's real. It's there. We know it's real. I've been involved in research associated with figuring some of that stuff out. It's there. And our folks coming in the door, they go, I'm not sure I want to be part of that.
Right.
We've got mental health issues. We've got lots of talk about the amount of shift time that our folks are at work, the mandatory overtimes. I was doing a consulting job not long ago, in which I was as I was interviewing folks in the department, they were telling me about a new candidate, probationary. I think he had 10 or 11 months on, so he hadn't completed his 12-month. Was engaged to be married. The wedding was planned. He got called for mandatory overtime the day of his wedding. Within 2 hours of the ceremony time before he was able to get somebody to actually come in and cover his shift. Otherwise, he was going to miss his wedding and have to either be AWOL, or miss his wedding.
Right. No, what a terrible dilemma or choice to put on somebody.
So when that information gets shared with folks that are looking for a career in our business, and for those of us, like I said, this is the greatest job in the world. But for when folks hear that, when they see that, when they read that information, when they hear those stories, they go, man, it's not the greatest job in the world. And I don't think I want any part of it. The sleep deprivation aspect of it, all of that stuff, I think, is actually coming together and having a negative impact on the recruitment of new folks that are going to potentially come in the door. So we can have great pay, we can have great benefits, we can have great stations, we can have great apparatus. I think all of that is hugely important. But I think we got to look at these other factors as well. And as leadership say, what can we do to make changes so that we can be an employer of choice to be able to get these folks in the door, not only get them in the door, but to keep them.
Wow. No, I love the mindset. I love the mindset. And you're taking me to messaging, and I want to ask questions about messaging, but there's so many questions for the audience, and I want to incorporate them into this, and I want to stay on topic before I shift gears on you to messaging. Joe Gavita wants to know, Chief, have you seen an increase in organizations lowering their hiring standards to meet needs for hiring and recruitment?
Oh, absolutely. The fact that, you know, in my department, I used to talk about that. If you don't have a bachelor's degree and a paramedic license, you're not going to get high enough on the list to get hired. I mean, the points just won't be there to weed you out. Today, you're probably not. You know, those days are gone. At
Right.
least
We're just after
the near future.
a pulse,
Yeah.
and maybe a driver's license at some point.
And you can probably get hired if you got a felony, as long as you didn't kill somebody.
Right.
You know, it's
No.
So the reality is just to have bodies on the rig, we've had to lower and reduce those standards, which means we can get good folks in the door, but we're going to have to train them. And almost back to the military mindset of you bring in a recruit, you send them to boot camp, and then you train them for their specialty in the military. I think that's probably where we're heading again, if we're not already there. So I'm seeing almost every organization I talk to has reduced their overall standards coming in the door.
There you go, Joe. An easy answer. Not saying it's a good answer, but it's an easy answer. Derek, 8, man, AYDT, 8. I'm going to say 8, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I'm good at butchering names. Are minimum standards to blame for recruitment and retention having 2 lacks of the process? Once you get hired, 2 lacks of a performance evaluation standard.
Run that by me again.
Are minimum standards to blame for recruitment and retention having 2 lacks of a process once you get hired, and incorporating 2 lacks of a performance evaluation, basically just a lower standard? It's tied to the previous question. Is that the problem with recruitment and retention?
I don't.
Or is it a symptom?
I think it's a symptom. I don't think it is directly tied to recruitment. I do think it's tied to retention. And I will say that I see more firefighter terminations today than I think I've ever seen in my career. And I can tell you, based on what my consulting firm does, the amount of internal investigations that we help departments with because of just bad actor firefighters that are doing things they shouldn't be doing is incredibly shocking to me. And so I think when you reduce your standards, if you will, and you bring folks in the door, some of those folks are not going to be long-term good employees.
Right.
And I'm not interested in seeing any firefighter job, but if we hire a firefighter that is not up to the standards that what we expect, what we believe the public should expect from the people that have put their hand up, their hand on the badge on their chest, If it's not up to that standard, then leadership needs to be strong enough to say, guess what, you're not going to get to work here any longer.
Right. No,
And
absolutely.
and so I'm seeing more terminations, and that's disturbing to me, but I'm also encouraged that we got fire service leaders that'll actually do the right thing instead of just saying, man, stick your head in the sand and look the other way just to have a warm body on a
Just a
rig.
body in the seat. Let me ask you this, Chief, because because I know you're a character person. I know this from just our brief interactions and studying and the Dynamic Fire Chief book. But like you said, used to be the pool was huge. Like you couldn't
Yeah.
even get in the top part of it without a bachelor's degree and the certs and everything else. And so at that point, departments could afford to sit back and say, okay, let's try to identify the person with the best character through whatever metrics we could use to try and identify that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
But now that the pool has shrunk so much, is it just that we're not even looking for character anymore? It's not even a metric.
I think that's true. And I think the other thought that goes through my mind is that we're pulling from a handful of new candidates coming in the door that somehow they missed the right and wrong, uh, either at home or in kindergarten or high school. So you got candidates that were probably really great candidates and would probably be really great candidates today. But when they're 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, before they get ready to take a test, they did something squirrely. And a lot of us did something squirrely.
Sure.
But they did something that put them in a position to which we can't hire them based on some of the actions that they've taken. And they may be a great candidate at 28 or 29 years old after they got their act together and you got a little bit of distance in there, but you're not going to be able to get them when they're young.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
And I keep thinking about as I look at this wave that I believe is coming down the road. I think we need to start thinking about how do we change our recruitment process to start getting an interest from candidates back in the 7th or 8th grade, and then start to mold and channel. This is acceptable behavior. This is what you need if you want to be at the fire department. This is what you need to do to be able to keep yourself out of trouble, so that we can pick these folks up early,
Right.
instead of trying to be on the receiving end. I think we need to be proactive on the build them end,
Right.
and build that generation that's going to come to us versus just taking who we can get.
No, that's beautiful. I actually love that. No, I really do. Are you good with more questions coming from the audience? We got so much to talk about, but
Absolutely.
Cox wants to know, what is the weather in your area? Have you had any major fires lately?
Well, you know what? It's in the 30s today, so it's not horrible. Chicago can go, wintertime in Chicago can be 60 degrees minus 12, in the same day. So it's crazy. City of Evanston, which is just north of the city of Chicago, Northwestern University is up there. They have been trying to burn the town down here in the last week or so. So in the Chicago area, they've had most of the work. It's I'm not sure what's going on up there. Great fire department, great group of folks. But yeah, they've been really busy
They've been getting
the last
it on.
couple of weeks. Yeah,
Right
they
on.
absolutely have.
Right on, right on. Michael Goldstein wants to know, Chief, do you see a lack of firefighters as a whole, or is it a lack of firefighters in an EMS-based fire department? I'm trying to infer into his question. Is he asking, is the focus on EMS taking away from our recruitment, the recruitment side?
I think based on that question, the answer is yes. I think we have folks that want to do EMS, that want to do fire. I think we have folks that do EMS only because they want to be part of a fire department. And none of those equations actually really fit well with what it is that we do. I mean, the reality is the fire service is the largest EMS provider in the country, and so we're doing the vast majority of the work. We're positioned to do it. We've got the response times, we got the capabilities, we got the staffing that we need. Modern level EMS. So we're just in a better position to be able to do it than a lot of other options or a lot of other providers are. I think that we as leaders in the fire service, when we're recruiting, when we're sending the message or telling the message of what the job is all about, if you watch a fire department recruitment video, you see buildings are on fire, you see tower ladders flowing water, you see people on ropes swinging off of water towers and cliffs and buildings and extrications, and you see all of this stuff going on, and you see nothing as it relates to EMS.
Right. We don't load them on a cot and put them.
Yeah. We don't talk about medicine. We don't talk about the mental health aspect of the folks that call us today. We don't talk about the fact that 75 or 80% of what we do is EMS in nature. We don't talk about the fact that modern day EMS is actually taking emergency room level care, transferring it to the field. We now do it in your living room. And then when we transport you, we move you to the definitive care to go get the clot pulled out of your brain or send you in to get a cath and get your clogged artery opened up. We don't talk about any of that stuff because, quite frankly, that's in the fire service mind. That's not sexy.
It is not sexy.
So we don't bring that forward.
Right.
And so I think we advertise for the job that we sometimes do versus the job that we do every day. And I think that impacts, therefore, the pool of candidates that are interested in coming to work for us.
Mm-hmm. Back to the messaging, which we're going to get to.
Yeah.
No, we are. No, unbelievably great breakdown of that answer and that question. I love that. James Griffin, do you think the economy is affecting training with many people having multiple jobs to survive, especially on the volunteer side?
I think the economy is affecting everything we do. And it's interesting. I was just having this conversation with my wife this week as it relates to the economy and where the fire service is at. Regardless of whether you're a full paid fire department or whether you're volunteer, the cost of living is more than what it has been, and so that means that you're working multiple jobs, you're taking overtime shifts, you're doing whatever it is that you need to do to bring the food in, continue to make the house payment, and put food on the table for your family. That's the basics. That's where we're at. From the fire side, budget component of that is that as the costs continue to increase and we have to pay our firefighters more, or it's costing us more for travel or housing or tuition for them to attend classes, whatever that matrix turns out to be, the reality is there's less and less and less available money for that stuff in our overall fire department budgets. The conversation specifically that my wife and I were having is over the fact of just the overall cost of fire apparatus today. Coming out of the COVID 2000, early 2001, you go buy a new engine, $650, $700,000. That's got everything on it. It's spectacular. It's wonderful. It's probably more rig than what you need to be able to do the job. Today, you can't buy that same rig for less than $1 million.
Right. It's 1.1 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And it's 4 years to get it.
Exactly. I was at a department not long ago. They had paid 1.2 or 1.3 for $1 million tower ladder. They ran it for 2 years and sold it to a department for $1.4 million. I asked the folks that were buying it. I said, why are you spending more money than what they paid for it new and it's 2 years old? And they said, because if we go to buy a new one, It's a 4-year delivery time, and it's going to cost us $2 million.
Right. No, it's a no-brainer for both parties involved.
Yeah. So when you put all of that together and you say, okay, for me to buy that new $1.1 million engine, or me to pay for fire academy training, or for me to pay stipends for my volunteer firefighters that will actually reimburse them for the gas that they put in their vehicle to respond on calls, that means I got to increase taxes within the community that I serve. And when I start increasing the taxes, there's an immediate impact on the overall community because they're suffering because of the increases of costs associated with the economy. So to say that the economy is driving a lot of the challenges that we're seeing, I think is absolutely spot on target. And I don't know where we're going. I don't know what we're going to do about it. But I sure see it as a problem today. Talk to a lot of folks that say it's a problem and think that, well, we got to try and wrap our arms around this thing in a pretty quick fashion here, or we're gonna find ourselves in even a deeper trouble.
Definitely a factor, and the more proactive you can be addressing it, I think is going to be the key. Whatever proactive looks like, and that's the debate, right? Chuck Hennis, man, I love your question. It's question 2. I love your question, but please articulate it if you can in the chat. Like it's very multifaceted. I need more details in it. So please articulate it and I'll ask it. Jacob Osterhughes coming at you, Chief. He says, do you feel, and I like this question, so I want to get it right. Do you feel that a progressive department versus because we've always done it that way department matters? Progressive in tactics, patient care, EMS, etc. Just their attitude. Do you think it matters? Or what as you've done your consulting and traveled, what do you think?
I think that probably is the one thing that matters. I think the better organization you are, and we in the fire service world tie the word being progressive, aggressive fire department together, and that's our term. I don't know if we said that to the general population that they would know what that means, but for us that's very specifically means something. I think that the organizations that are progressive, that are not reactive, not in a situation of this is the way we've always done it, so this is what we're going to continue to do. The departments that are aggressive in their EMS level of patient care, in their fire suppression tactics, using modern research that is out there to do the job that we need to do. I think all of that stuff actually comes together to help us become the employer of choice. And I think, again, and you and I've used the word several times of messaging, I think we have got to message that to the candidate pool that is out there to say, look, you come to us, you're going to get to experience that, and you're not going to get we're just going to beat into you what we've been doing for the last 50 years, because it doesn't necessarily mean it's right. It's just what we've done for the last 50 years.
Right. No, I love it. I absolutely.
That's a great question. That's a spot on question.
No, and a spot on answer. And I really thank you, Jacob, for the question. Thank you, Chief Craig Haigh, for the beautiful answer. I had to timestamp it 8:42 to make sure I didn't lose track of where it was, because it was a beautiful answer. I don't know what there's no context. Robbie Cox, I don't know what you mean, because it's been too long since you probably sent your question. You said, do you think they are just not thinking the job is serious? So please repost the question with some context. Christopher Del Moore says, do you think lack of commitment is a factor? People can just bounce to the next happy place if they have a problem with one department or one officer or one individual.
Yeah, I think that lack of commitment is definitely an issue. Interestingly, though, when you study Generation Z as to what it is that they're looking for in an employer, they're looking for an employer that's committed to them. And so I go back to, and I coach departments as I talk to them. I go back to, if you've got candidates going out the door, the first place you need to look is at your bosses, because we know employees do not leave organizations. They leave bad bosses,
Right.
or they leave toxic environments with the folks that they work with.
Right.
And so, a lot of times I hear things like, oh, well, these new guys coming in the door, or whatever attachment you identify the group by. Well, they're just not committed. And I say, well, maybe that's maybe that you got to look at that. But I would say the first place to look is look at leadership, and look at do you have a toxic environment? Do you have drama in your organization?
I love that.
And if you got drama and you got a toxic environment, then you got a cultural issue that's driving folks out the door. It's not the stay-at-to-itiveness of the folks coming in the door. And so it's that error first.
It's almost lazy,
and then start to
yeah. No, I love it. I've actually asked you one of my questions I've planned to ask you tonight. One, everything else has come from the audience, and it's been amazing because they've had great questions and you've crushed them all. If you could give every fire chief out there one piece of advice, I wanted to throw this one on recruitment and retention specifically. What would it be? Just one. I know that's a harsh metric, but I'm still throwing it at you.
I would say if there was one thing, I would say on recruitment, it would be tell the right story. Tell the story about what we really do, not the story of maybe the cool and sexy stuff that looks good on a videotape. Let's talk about what we really do in the business. The one piece of advice I would give a chief as it relates to retention, it's all about the bosses and the managers. You got good bosses, you got good leaders, you got folks that are taught and developed, and they know how to lead people. You're gonna be in good shape. And so if there were two focus areas, tell the story, that'll get you in the door, I believe. And then to keep them, you got to have good bosses.
You got to have good bosses.
And
do you think, man, there's so many levels to this that I want to dig into. But do you think the bosses can be developed, or you got the wrong people? And it's such a multifaceted, because there's so many organizations. There's so many people, so many egos, so many personalities. But do you think it's developable? I don't know the right word. Developable, if you put the energy into it, or is it a foregone conclusion for some places? Or what's your throw some percentages on it, or I hope you get the gist of what I'm asking you.
Yeah, no, I get it. That's why I'm
that's why you do
smiling.
what you do.
Yeah. Here's what I'll tell you. The best answer I can give you, it depends. I believe that there are folks that you can develop, that they have the heart, and they have the drive and the passion to be developed into good leaders.
Okay.
And I think if they have the heart and drive and the passion, you can develop them, and they got to be teachable. But you can develop them into folks that can do a pretty good job leading folks. I think there are other folks that they may look really good on the surface, but the heart and the drive and the passion isn't there, and you just have what is, or if you don't catch it, and you continue to move them through the chain, will ultimately put themselves in a position in which they're a boss that negatively impacts your organization.
No, that's
I talked about, and I do a lot of work on succession planning, and that was one of the things when I came to Hanover Park, I came in the door from the outside, and I told them straight up when the city hired me, I said, look, I don't hire from outside. I think there are some instances where you need to, you got a problem, somebody inside, you failed a succession plan, you got to bring somebody in, you got to get it fixed. But the reality is that if your organization's running the way it's supposed to be running, you should be recruiting your future, be growing and developing them based on their overall capabilities so that they're ready to step into leadership positions in the future. Which means, and I've talked about this a lot with folks over the years, because we tried to really live it out in the 19 years I sat in the top spot here in Hanover Park. We talked an awful lot about that when we recruited and when folks, we hired them based on their blue shirt capabilities, but their white shirt potential. So what assets could we uncover in our written, in our interview?
Might be losing him. Hold up, Chief. Are you there?
Back?
You're back.
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. Not sure what that was about.
What aspects? That's where you're at.
What aspects we could uncover in those new recruits that if we focused attention on those aspects, we could build them into the future leaders of the organization. And when I talked to my team about it, I said, well, what's that mean to you guys? What are you thinking? And
sure,
they talked about the 80-20 rule. They said 80% of our assessment criteria needs to be based on the candidate's heart, and 20% of the assessment criteria needs to be based on the candidate's education, experience, things like that they would bring to the table. The argument that my folks made for me is that we typically always hire based on the 20%. We hire based on what's their education, what's their certifications, what's their experience. And we put we put no focus on their heart, their vision, their passion, their commitment, their love for the job. So we hire candidates intentionally that may have a heart problem and turn out to be a bad employee. Comparatively, if we hire a candidate that has got the right heart, all of the things that we can identify in a great employee, but maybe they're missing something over in the education, experience, and training area. We're the fire department. We're in the training business. We can fix that. We can fix the 20%. We can't fix the 80% of the heart. So that changed, in my mind, how we did business here, and it changed how I teach people today for their assessment criteria of new candidates coming in the door, is to say, you got to focus on their heart. You got to look at this individual as to who they are and what they bring to the table that we love about them.
Right.
And then what skills can we develop for their leadership in the future? Grab that and run.
No, and I love this. I'm a huge proponent of what you're saying. I think it's amazing to hire for heart. But do you get pushback on that from people saying that's too subjective? That's up to the system and who's friends and popularity contest. I can tell you've heard all of this.
So. I've heard all of that.
Right.
The cool thing is, when you're the fire chief and you've been the fire chief for a really, really long time, and you've been successful in a whole lot of various areas, it's pretty easy when HR says to you, whoa. I'm not sure I agree with your testing process. It's not as subjective as it ought to be. And you say, okay, look, we're gonna make it subjective. We're gonna figure it out, but we're gonna do it a little different than what we've done it in the past. And because you've got, in essence, what I call political capital built already, well, you can stave off all of the naysayers while you actually build something that is workable and will bring in the candidates that you need to bring in the door. You can make it very subjective.
Okay.
You just got to know what you're looking for.
Okay. No. That's why I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
I love the answer. Absolutely. Uh, David Woodward coming at you and said, in your experience, what percentage of an annual budget should be planned for payroll and benefits? Is there a good rule of thumb or standard practice?
Well, first off, I'm not answering any question that Woodward puts forward.
Fair
So
enough. Fair enough.
that's just
Standard operating procedure.
he, he'll be texting me here in just a second.
Shortly. Shortly.
But hey, you got to give me the answer to this. I would say, in my experience, when your organization's running effectively, and you're a paid paid department, that 75 to 80% for payroll benefits is probably right where you need to be. Then you got enough funds from there laid out to be able to do your training and make sure that you're equipped the way you're supposed to be, and things like that, minus apparatus and breathing apparatus. That's handle that in a different way.
The capital,
but, the capital,
right?
But what I see more than anything else, and I'm seeing it especially in this economic climate that we're after, is that 75 to 80% goal that I think David is looking for in the answer. I'm seeing that creep up 90 or 95%. Now, if you think about that, if you're running a fire department a $10 million budget, if 95% of that $10 million budget is for personnel and benefits and overtime, you have very, very little money to be able to successfully train, develop, and equip your folks.
Operating very lean.
You are very, very lean. And I can tell you, I'm seeing a lot of departments in that 90 to 95% range right now. And I'm fearful that even if we can turn the economy, or we can do something different, I'm fearful that we're not necessarily going to be able to back that down, and that's going to have a real negative impact on how we do business.
Right. No. Great question. I love the anytime you can give people a rule of thumb or something that they can wrap put their hands on and sink their teeth into. I love that. When you say the 95 is very lean, 90 to 95, it gives something to sink teeth into. Now, I want to, already, I think this scrap has been unbelievably valuable to anybody who takes the time to listen to it. It's just good nuggets, good information. But I don't want to shortchange the Dynamic Fire Chief, one of the best books out there. I want to hit on it. I really do. And your consulting firm and how busy you've been, and the reason you feel like you are so busy. I'll let you go with. Let's go with the consulting firm first. Why are you so busy? And explain that. When you put it in the email, I was like, no, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, we're super busy. I didn't, when I retired and jumped into the consulting world, and I will just say that the reason that I left Hanover Park, I loved being here, and I love being fire chief in this community, and is just really blessed to be here. But if you succession plan, at some point you're going to find yourself as the guy in the way. And Chief Forge was my number 2, my executive officer. He was ready to be fire chief. And if I didn't get out of the way, he wasn't going to get to be fire chief long enough to be able to do all of the great things that you get to do to be chief. So I bailed, and we knew, and we talked about it, and it was all part of the planning process. But the reality too is that I needed to have something to do, because I'm not ready to give it up.
Right.
So we started the consulting firm, and I've been blown away by how busy we've been. And when I look at why we're busy, I've tried to really analyze why do we have the amount of work that we do for somebody that I don't advertise, and I don't have a Facebook page for my business, and I don't have a website for my business. I've got folks that call me and say, "Hey, can you help me with this situation? What's going on? Why are we busy?"
Right.
I think there's a couple things that are hanging out there. One, I would say that our organizations are running so lean, and they're running so lean in the top spots that we just don't have the focus of the work anymore. So I'll get called and say, "Hey, can you can you write a grant for us, or can you write policies and procedures? And unfortunately, I got some folks that are on the team that can do that kind of work, but we should be able to write policies, procedures, and SOGs within our own organization. You shouldn't have to hire that out. But if you don't have the bodies within your command staff to be able to do that work, you don't have any other options.
No,
and so
yeah.
that leanness is catching up with us. Back in 2008, a lot of us lost our middle managers within our fire departments, and we didn't get back. And so you got the fire chief, maybe a deputy, and you got your shift folks. There's nobody else in there to do the work.
There is no buffer, nothing to absorb the administrative duties, the record keeping,
So they're just getting killed. I would say the second thing that causes us to see the workload is we got some bad actors, and we got some folks in leadership in the fire service today that I would argue shouldn't be in leadership in the fire service, and they're making bad decisions. They're hurting people. And when I say hurting people, both physically and mentally, and how they take care of their staff. In fact, they're not taking care of their staff, and those bad actors that are in those positions cause the city councils or the fire protection districts or the township boards, whatever your working organization is, they see what's going on. They're getting pushback from their unions, they're getting pushback from their volunteers, their volunteer ranks are diminishing. And so they go, we got to get somebody in here to take a look and see what's going on and see if we can get our arms wrapped around this and fix it. So hence, that's when I get the call and say, I don't know what's going on in my organization. I don't understand fire, but can you come in here and look around and see if you can figure out how to fix it? We got more of that going on than what we need to have going on. And right. It's just, I think there's some reasons for that, but it's just bad. And the other thing,
okay, no, sorry, I want to dig.
No, go ahead.
Do you think that's ever going to go? Is that just part and parcel for human nature? Is it a symptom of something, a deeper issue?
I think it's a deeper issue. I find we got folks that don't want to lead their organizations. They don't want to be the fire chief. They don't want to come off shift. They'll take the highest rank on shift, period. They don't want to step into administration.
Oh, okay.
The reason they don't want to step into administration is because administration lives in a glass house, and our people are smart and they see what's going on. And they understand that the fire chief is between a rock and a hard place. They got city councils or district boards on one side giving them direction. They got the union on the other side that's pushing back, and the fire chief or those senior staff members are sitting right there in the middle. And any decision they make is going to be a problem. They see the 24-hour connectedness. I call it the job today. I call it the jealous mistress that's killing us.
Okay.
Because if we do anything as a fire chief or senior staff, any effort you do, anything you do in your life that is not dedicated to running your organization, being connected, answering the cell phone, answering the email, answering the text message, the phone when the mayor decides to call you at 3:00 in the morning. There's no way to get away from that. And if you don't do all of those things, you're unemployed. So when our folks look at this and they go, wow, these guys are in a position between a rock and a hard place and the 24-hour connectedness. I can't go to my kid's ball game without spending half of the time on the cell phone talking to an elected official that's mad about something, or pick whatever the situation is,
whatever scenario you want to. Yeah,
they go, man, I don't want to do that. I love the fire service, but I don't want to do that. And I watched the fire chief who came in the door ready to go, and they just get beat down, and they're exhausted, and they're angry, and they're disgruntled, and they leave the organization hating the fire service and the department. So what that does for us, We have some really, really great folks that would make great fire administrators and would cut my workload down to zero if they would lead their organizations. But they don't want the job because they see what the job is. And then what we end up with is, because you got to have leadership, we promote folks that would sell their soul to get a gold badge and 5 bugles.
Mm.
And so you get those folks into those leadership positions. They're not equipped. They don't have the right heart. They're not bringing the right skill set to the table. And they run their organizations down a bad path. They hurt their folks because they're not the right people to be in the spot. And the right people to be in the spot won't take the job.
Mm. I think you just almost threw down a gauntlet to the American Fire Service in the fact of it. But I think you articulated very, very well the problem in many, many organizations across the country.
So you take that stuff and you partner that together. And I would say the third thing that impacts us being as busy as we are is that, I hate to even admit it, but I see it, is that city managers, county managers, whatever that leadership role is, they don't trust our fire departments. They don't trust our fire departments. They don't trust our firefighters, because we oftentimes don't always tell the truth. We tell our version of the truth, and that impacts our trust level, because really it's whether you're in private business or you're in the fire service, it's all about relationships, and that negativity impacts the relationship. They don't trust us. And so, the firefighters and the fire chief come in and say, we need to do program A, B, and C. It's the right thing to do. And they say, you know what, I'm going to go get a third party guy to come in the door and make sure that what you just told me of A, B, and C that's going to cost me, $2 million is actually accurate, because I don't trust you guys.
Right.
Man, I hate that we've done that to ourselves, but we have done that to ourselves.
Right. No, absolutely.
That's why I got work.
But all of it is a legitimate reason for so many departments, man. There's so much value in understanding those metrics, if that makes sense. So
I don't think we don't have real conversations, and I think that impacts it.
No, I think you're 100% spot on. The other one is I wanted to touch on dynamic fire chief. I want you to talk about it, why you wrote it. I mean, obviously it's tied to the consulting, but 100% go for it.
It really came out of in all of the writing that I've been doing for, I don't know, long time now.
Long time.
It's been
over 50 articles.
Yeah, a couple of them out there.
A few.
All of that writing is focused on this leadership aspect and various things. Sometimes, the non-sexy stuff, but the chief executive officer stuff associated with the job, the HR issues, the hiring, the recruitment, succession planning, budgeting, discipline. Pick the topic. I've been writing on that stuff for a long time, because folks would say to me, "Hey, how do you do this?" So. Really, the book was driven by a conversation that I had with leadership at Fire Engineering about let's write down some of those things that folks call you about and ask you how to do. So as an example, for several years at Hanover Park, I would get called and folks would say, "Did you really get rid of annual job reviews?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've done my absolute best to get rid of them. I think they're garbage." And they're like, "Well, tell me more."
Right.
So I'm like, "Well, there's a lot of research out there that talks to the fact that they don't work. So Why are we doing them?" And oh, by the way, there's a lot of, if you go back and look at history, we can see how we actually evolved to where we're at, and what they were designed to do in the beginning is not what we use them for today.
Right.
They're junk.
Right.
So stop doing them. Why we do something that doesn't work? So, people would call me and ask me about that. So what the book became is I think it's chapters or like that. And each one basically takes on one of these issues that I would get calls about. And so I detailed it out for them. Here's what it is. Here's how you do it. Almost in a textbook type fashion. If you want to how to do sinking fund for your fire apparatus, read the chapter on finance. It'll tell you how to do it step by step by step, and so that you can start putting away money to purchase fire apparatus and project what they're going to be at the end of their life. So it's that, but I thought what turned out to be the thing I hear the most about as it relates to the book is those 10 or 11 chapters cover those various topics, but my wife recommended to me as I was started to write it, she's like, you've been in the top spot, so you had things that went right, and you got things that went horribly wrong, things you just flat screwed up. You didn't handle it correctly. And if you had to go back and do it again, you do it very differently. So her take was start each chapter with a story from your career, and what you learned from that, and not just the good and the good, but you need to talk about the bad as well.
Right.
And really be transparent and lay that out, and then tie that into whatever it is that you're talking about in the chapters. So if you're talking about internal investigations and discipline, well, then you need to give them a discipline story.
Right.
And walk them through that so they can get in the message with you. They can get in the storyline, then see how the process played out, and then what was the end result. And so that's how the book is written. What I hear the most about is the stories that
Right.
folks seem to the stories seem to resonate with them. I will say, in writing it was really interesting to it was almost a mental health debrief for me to go back over those things and to think
like a
about
CISD,
like yeah, kind of download junk that I've been carrying for a long time.
I love hearing that. Yeah, that's awesome.
But that's what it is. It's I think for folks that serve in leadership positions, they found it useful, or I hear that they found it useful.
Absolutely.
For folks that are coming
humble.
up.
You are very humble, sir, but it's a phenomenal book that has helped many people at the level that it's designed to help out. So,
well, I appreciate that very much.
No, absolutely. So again, if you haven't, what I love is when people can throw a question at you, or any guest, but I'm specifically picking on you because you're here tonight, and they make it look easy when they filled the question. That's not a trick. That comes from a lifetime of investment and study and doing it. And it's a very powerful gift. So I really do appreciate that. So I want to say that you crushed a lot of good questions tonight and made them look very easy. So anyway, it only happens that does not happen on accident. So with that being said, I love books that you think firefighters should be reading. One of my favorite questions I ask on the track.
Best book that I have read lately. It's called It's the Manager.
It's the Manager.
It's the Manager. And for those of us that are kind of research oriented, that's kind of how our brain works. This is it right here.
Kick it to the side. How thick was that? Looked thick, but maybe it was just optical.
It's thick.
Okay.
It's thick.
Okay.
It's not a sit down and read this story, from cover to cover like it's a novel. You look at it, digest it, pick the chapter that you're looking for. But just a tremendous book. Two authors wrote this thing, Jim Clifton and Jim Harder. It was published by Gallup, who does a lot of good research work.
Okay.
But what I love, the cover sums this thing up. And then it was actually recommended to me by a friend, and I grabbed it and loved it. But the statement on the cover, it says, Gallup finds that the quality of managers and team leaders is the single biggest factor in your organization's long-term success.
Bro.
We've talked about that tonight.
A little bit.
The data is in this book.
Nice.
And so I would say, if you're serious about figuring this stuff out, you're serious about developing your folks, you're just serious about developing yourself, this is a great resource.
And it takes it out of the anecdotal and has the data.
It does. It's got the data.
Oh,
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay. No, now I have to read It's the Manager. And I was hoping for an easy read, and you showed me a thick book.
So. It is not an easy read. It's worth reading. It's a commitment. But it's good.
Hey, anything worth doing, man. 100%. I love it. Okay. Which takes us to one of my favorite parts of the scrap, and that is the 5 questions for firefighters. This started way back at the beginning of the scrap, and now we are in the 5 questions for firefighters, versions 3.2. It's the 3rd iteration. The points are arbitrary. They're assigned by me. There are no right or wrong answers to any of the questions. It's strictly your opinions. The audience absolutely helps me out to assign the points. So my question for you, first of all, is, are you ready for the 5 questions for firefighters, versions 3.2, Chief Craig Haigh? All right. I love it. Number 1, what is the skill that has carried you through your fire service career?
Oh, that's easy. Hands down. Perseverance. Work. Stay focused. When you get kicked down, around, get up, dust yourself off, keep moving. Perseverance is the key. That's easy.
Easy answer. He says that's easy. I will say it's an easy max points for work. Perseverance, absolutely. I'm waiting to see if anybody has anything to say other than max points. There is a slight delay as I wait to see. No, 100%. There we go. Max points. Good.
I love that one.
No, brother, it's hard to beat, man. I can't argue. If anybody has a detractor to say on work, then they haven't lived life enough. That's what I will say. Yeah. Great answer. Max points. I love it. Okay, they're coming in. David Woodward said it was okay.
I'll take that from a friend.
to be expected.
Yeah.
No, 100%. I love that. Number 2. This was. It's Jobtown. It is time. You're en route. You got to imagine the scene from Backdraft where McCaffrey's jumping on the rig, slapping the tape in the cassette deck. What song are you playing en route?
Well, this is not a cool and sexy answer, but there is no song. I'm not when I'm on my way to a job. I am thinking about am I going to be worthy when I pull up on the scene? Am I going to be worthy of the people that have called me? Am I going to be the individual that they needed on the worst day of their life when they picked up the phone and called 911? Am I going to be worthy of taking care of my team and being able to see around corners and identify hazards and assign them appropriately to do the things that they need to do, and more importantly, get them out of harm something is going bad? And am I going to be worthy to solve the problem? I'm not being called to the scene because somebody just decided they wanted the fire department to show up.
Waiting.
You still got me?
You're back.
Okay. If anything, I'm going down the road and I am saying a prayer that I am going to be worthy when I get there. So there's no song. It's this other stuff going through my mind.
It's a repetitive mantra.
Yeah, every time. Every time.
Am I worthy?
Yep.
Brother, I love that. I love the am I worthy? And Nicholas Gwynn said, great answer, noble answer, perseverance. Absolutely. Number 3, what is your favorite fire service tradition?
Firehouse kitchen table. All problems, big or small, I believe can be solved sitting around the firehouse kitchen table.
I can't argue with that.
I would say that the reason that difficult positions for a fire chief when you get promoted into that spot is you no longer have the ability. I mean, you can do it. You physically can go sit at the kitchen table, but you don't have the ability to share in that conversation that takes place between the peers of a company sitting at the kitchen table. And that, I think, is so incredibly detrimental to the fire chief in being able to stay focused and lead the organization into the future, and just lead day in and day out. You lose that. And so if there's anything that I just love and cherish, and anything that we would ever do to lose that within our firehouses, whether paid or volunteer, that firehouse kitchen table is an essential tool to help us do the job effectively. I
love it, man. 100%. So many max points flying by. It's humbling. Awesome. Max points. Never a wrong answer. The kitchen table. Yeah, we need to do this more in all departments. Kitchen table is the best place to talk to each other about everything. That is 100% accurate. Yes, the kitchen table. Okay. Yeah. On the clock, number 4, number 4 question on the clock. You 1 minute to answer, because we had to put it on the clock because there were so many people who were doing, they would do their honorable mentions and they would take, but long story short, measured on the clock, 1 minute, 4 people to put on your Mount Rushmore of the fire service, and go.
Chief Larry Anderson, first fire chief I ever served, chief of my volunteer department, still in my mind is the fire chief. Daryl Unzel, firefighter paramedic that I got the opportunity to work with, actually showed me the global fire service beyond the doors of the community that I worked in, and I would have never seen it without him. Battalion Chief Bob Collins, first as a career paid guy, first battalion chief I ever worked for. Bob solved problems, and Bob taught us to solve problems. Just a rock star, and he took care of his people. And the last one, dear friend of mine that we lost a few years ago, Chief Alan Brunacini. Huge impact on my fire service career, huge impact on me as a person, still impacting me as we go forward. That you asked me for 4, those were easy.
Boom. Hey, I love it because you never know what you're going to get from anybody you ask this question from. And it could be people that impacted you personally in your personal career. It could be impact to the fire service. And I love Larry Anderson, Unsel. I love when you said Bob Collins he solved problems and taught you to solve problems. I don't think you could give a person a better compliment than that.
He is tremendous. It's absolutely tremendous.
And Chief Bruno, I mean, you say he impacted you personally. He's impacted the American Fire Service. I mean, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Even before I knew who he was, that cartoon book with customer service was something I had way back in the day. I didn't even know who he was. Impacted, my early.
It was just I feel incredibly blessed to have known him, and for him to have taken an interest in me over the years and taken the time to pour into me on a personal level. Just an incredible individual. I miss him a lot.
I love hearing that. Yeah, absolutely. I wish. Yeah. Okay. Number 5, final question. The question. It's never changed. It will never change. It is heavy fire, searchable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on the VES?
Put water on the fire.
You want the knob.
I want the knob.
I love it.
Fire. It gives me the opportunity to make the environment better for both the victim and those that are going to make the rescue. And so give me the nozzle. I'll make life better for them. They get in the building and make the rescue. That's what I want to do.
I love it. I love because there's no wrong answers to any of these. Any of these have no wrong answers. And I love hearing the reasons behind it. And really what I love hearing is the lack of hesitation when you say, give me the nozzle. Give me the nozzle. I'm gonna make it better. There's no thinking about it or anything. It's just give me the knob. Absolutely max points. And that officially with those, and the audience agrees, there's so many max points. When you get a chance, Chief, go back on Facebook. I think most of the comments are on Facebook. At your leisure, look at social media. There's a lot of comments to you and stuff like that. It's a good time. But all that being said, that officially makes it 230 scraps in the books.
Wow.
Chief Craig Haigh, thank you so much for spending your evening with us. First of all, if someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do so?
Best way is to just shoot me an email. That's the easiest way. Or you can go to my Facebook page. Just look me up on Facebook, Craig Haigh. Send me a private message and it'll pop in and I'll grab it. But email works great. I can give you that. It's just my name, CHAIGH at sbcglobal.net. And that'll pop right in. I'll see it and I'll respond and try and help you however I can.
I love it. Okay. Housekeeping, everybody, go to firehousevigilance.com. Do it at your leisure. Become a vigilante. The vigilantes are awesome. It's the Cool Kids Club. $5 a month, the cost of a cup of coffee. You can sign up for a monthly or you can sign up for a year. Doesn't matter. Of course, there's a scrap after party, which will be happening soon. That's where we all come in there and we roast the guest. Chief Haigh has agreed to come in there and be roasted, although he said he doesn't think anybody's actually going to roast him. That was his words, not mine.
So that's before I knew Woodward was on here. Woodward will roast me.
We'll see. We will actually see. Next week coming up, RJ Wynn. If you haven't heard this, man, don't miss next week. It's going to be powerful. RJ Wynn and his story. I met him out in California. I said, hey, will you come on and be the scrap? If you don't know who he is, he was on Fit to Fight Fire. Check him out. I wish I would have looked up the number, but look up Wynn, RJ, WYNN, Robert Wynn. You can hear his story on Fit to Fight Fire. He's going to be at Firemanship because of his story. It's pretty powerful. It's coming up next week. And, of course, following that is one of my favorite people on the planet, Chief Clyde Gordon out of Houston. Ride with Clyde. He's coming back on the scrap. He hasn't been on since I think it was in the 70s maybe. So it's been a couple years. And I was like, Chief, you got to come back on, Clyde. And so we're going to keep 2024 rolling. Chief Craig Haigh set the bar pretty, I'd say pretty high for finishing out January. So everybody else has got to try and meet it. Absolutely. Audience, thank you so much for being here. Your questions are what makes the scrap magical. I wish I could show you the notes. I had so many questions to throw at Chief, and then the audience, absolutely. I'm not saying derails it. They just ask great questions that are ripe and right down the pipe for the guest to absolutely crush. And I love it. So thank you for being here and thank you for doing it. All that being said, I hope the tone stays silent unless it is burning. Everybody, stay safe out there. Thank you, Chief, for spending your evening with us.
Thank you.